Microphone. I'll try that again. I'd like to welcome Ms. Mason to our committee. She's been an ex facto member and now will become a voting member for the next 4 months. So welcome. Glad to have you here. In fact, we're going to jump you right in just a minute, let you lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance. But before we do that, would you please call the roll? Ms. Kay.
Pete Wildeboer.
Present.
Melissa Mason.
Here.
Judy Justice.
Here.
And we will have our invocation today by Reverend David Haley, Associate Pastor of the Wrightsville United Methodist Church. Welcome. Glad to have you here. And then we'll have our pledge by Ms. Mason.
Let us pray. Lord God, we give you thanks for the gift of this day. We thank you for the gift of rain. Not always a convenient gift, but what a blessing when we're coming off of a drought. And just a reminder that even in the midst of challenges, there can be great blessings. We pray for this committee as they meet today. We pray, Lord, for guidance and wisdom. And we give you thanks for the commitment on the part of each of these individuals to the education of our children. Aware that each and every day, each and every hour of every school day, that the work of our public schools is impacting positively the lives of so many children, not only their future lives, but also their present lives. And we just pray again for guidance and wisdom as matters are discussed today, which will impact the work of our schools and will impact the lives of our students. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. All right. Our next point of business will be the approval of the agenda. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Passes 3-0. Approval of the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
And I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none. All approving, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Passes 3-0. We have, Ms. Justice, I did mention before that we have a 45-hour meeting ahead of us, so
45 hours?
get comfortable. Kidding. I'm just kidding.
Just
Just kidding.
Bring your pajamas.
Yeah.
I've slept in my clothes before.
What? We're having fun at a meeting? Come on now, what in the world? All right, we're going to jump in with both feet. Let's start with our first policy, which is 4150, school assignment.
And that's page 18 in your packets.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, page 18. We do have the red section there. That is the proposed change. And I'll read that out loud. I think is it up there? Ms. Godesky's having to do 2 jobs today, so I appreciate her. You're going to get her running shoes on and everything else.
This is my first one.
Give her a second to get that up. All righty, and there we go. There's the red section. The student assignment plan shall detail the procedures for how the lottery assignment process shall work. All lotteries will provide an equal chance for all students to be selected. No weighted preferences shall be made. This does not include cooperative, innovative high school programs, and the suggested deletion is save the student's geographic proximity to the schools. I think that is, I'm double checking my notes. I think that's all I had as far as there was the change, the proposed change. What is the will of the committee?
Well,
Ms. Justice?
discussion. You know how I feel about this. very opposed to this change to begin with. But now that the change is here, they added, or they took away even more practical, educational aspects. In my opinion. Why save the students' geographic proximity to the school? If they live next door, you're saying that they're going to be in the lottery with everybody else? I mean, is this the purpose of this change, correct?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
Okay, well, I think proximity, that has been a standard for magnet schools in other districts that I've worked with, not just ours. It's always been a standard here, and I hate, first of all, I hate the lottery being taken away, but the proximity, and here it's ironic because so many people use the term community schools, not community schools, neighborhood schools, and here you're taking it away when it actually for a change makes sense, as opposed to being used for political reasons. So, as I said, literally if they live a block away, 2 blocks away, and the school's right there, now then you're going to have a limitation. Dr. Barnes, what is the limitation on the proximity?
Now, I thought that the only schools that didn't have a proximity at all were Coddington, Eaton, and Gregory, correct?
Yeah, I think that's true.
Gregory does.
It does? Okay. That's a good thing, right? Oh, well, in my opinion. In my
Because Snipes and Freeman are also magnet schools, but they also do have their own proximity area as well. But Coddington and Eaton don't have that there, because we don't want, if a child or a family doesn't want a year-round calendar, it shouldn't matter how close to the school they are if that's not what they want for their family.
Plus, if you're talking about, say, you're 2 blocks away and the child can walk, otherwise you're going to put them on bus and they might be on bus before them. You don't know. I'm just saying that it just, for practical purposes, and not just this district, but other districts I've worked at, it's just always been something that you give a plus to living in the neighborhood with the school that's a magnet school. In this case, he's a magnet school, so we'll talk about it.
And Ms. Kudetsky shared, just to make sure everybody understands too, the policy was presented to the board and a revision was approved by them on July 8th, 2025 board meeting. So, and unfortunately, I was not there, so. maybe
That's the
Ms.
part.
Yeah. Ms. Mason, can you share your thoughts on this, please?
I'm just curious, who removed that, and do we know the justification for doing it?
Good question.
I believe, that I do not know. I'm thinking, Ms. Kudetsky, do you know? by chance? Nope. Well, I have no problem leaving it
I
in.
have to go back to the July meeting and see if the
Yeah.
minutes indicate that, but it's also just presented to the board. and-
I'm pretty sure I'm not pretty sure. I know I didn't. I don't think Ms.
I
Jones
didn't,
did.
this was
So
a
then
total
it would-
surprise
I
to
would have
me.
to believe it might have been Mr. Perry that,
I've been Mr. Perry.
yeah, because
No, he's not
I
here,
know
so
I
I don't
didn't.
know.
and-
I guess my question would be, what is the justification for it? Just so I know, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to.
So I think what this is saying is, no weighted preferences for the lottery bill will be made except for the student's geographical proximity to the school being a factor.
That's what
But I
it said
don't
originally.
think with Coddington and Eaton that's ever been a factor.
And they took it out. They took the proximity out. Isn't that what this is right here?
That's what that is.
Yeah, that's what, yeah, we don't know why.
Go ahead, Jim.
So who would it impact?
So in the lottery, in the weights that were applied for Eaton and Coddington, there was a zip code preference. So
But it wasn't the zip code closest to the school. It was a zip
no,
code.
it was
Yeah.
not one, it was not
Right.
closest
That
to
was
the
a
school.
different factor.
But, so this paragraph was provided as an addition to the policy. This was, all of it was new. And the part that's been struck from that, save the student's geographical proximity to the school, was provided as a change recently, and that's what's removed. So it's not something that has been long-standing that's been removed. It was something from this statement that's being removed.
So I guess my question is, does this impact? If we remove it, does it impact, or if we keep it, does it impact anybody at all as far as the lottery goes?
So to clarify, the only schools that are straight lottery are Eaton and Coddington. So Gregory does have an attendance zone like Rachel Freeman and Snipes. So,
That's removing it. Wouldn't it?
no, this would not remove the geographic proximity for Rachel Freeman, Snipes, or Gregory. They still have an attendance zone. This is removing this sentence from the change that was recommended, that was then approved by the board. So,
Which are those two schools, Eaton and Coddington?
right, so then there would be a straight lottery, and there would not be a weight added to the zip code preference.
So in other words, if somebody lives right around the corner from Eaton, they would get right now they would get a preference, but they wouldn't get one. if we
No,
cross this out.
no,
it's a
there
straight
was,
lottery now.
the preference was not for geographic proximity to the school. The preference was for underrepresented areas
Okay.
of the county. And so this was saying that there would be a weight or that there would be preference for those that live closest to the school, but that's not something that was in place for Eaton and Coddington.
Would you recommend that we put that in place for Eaton and Coddington or not?
I like the idea of literally, if you're living 2 blocks away, why are you going to, and you like year round, you should have a preference. I mean, this is my personal opinion as parents. Seriously, why put your child, why put your child on a bus, maybe ride for 30 or 40 minutes to another school on the other end, like Porter's Neck? I don't know. That's maybe where they'd end up going. Might be.
I don't know as if that's as relevant, because Williams is about a mile from Coddington, and Blair is about a mile from Eaton.
Well, and that part's true. I'm just saying, next, yeah, you've got a point there.
What would you recommend?
It's a small county.
Sure.
Well,
Second.
because the year-round model is its own entity, I think if we're doing, because what you're saying is, we're gonna have a straight lottery, we're not gonna have preferences, oh, but let's add this preference back in. The argument was for a straight lottery
Without weights.
without weights.
Okay.
So,
So I make a motion that we approve policy 4150 with the deletion of save the student's geographic proximity to the school. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
And now, yeah, and now that all of this has been explained,
Yeah.
that I was not aware of
Told you,
before.
72 hours. I wasn't kidding.
now, I will tell you that, just to make sure people are aware, that sibling privilege and employee privilege is factored in prior to the lottery being run. So if my second grader goes to Eaton and my kindergartner comes up, I apply and they're automatically granted in. They're not lottery. So the lottery only takes effect after the sibling privilege and employee privileges have been done.
And that's only for the elementaries, not, as I found out the other day,
Not
for
for
high
the,
schools.
not for the early cooperative high schools, correct?
Just those 2 schools. Just those 2 schools.
Right.
Well, sibling privilege applies for all schools except for those schools that require a rubric for entering. So
Right.
the cooperative, innovative high schools do not include
Okay.
sibling privilege, but every other school does. And the only change, the only difference would be if we hire a staff member later, like in the summer, then we will make room for their child to be at the school where they're teaching if
Right.
they want to use their employee benefit.
Those are those 1 or 2 places that people were arguing over earlier in already crowded classrooms.
This is the way it was presented. So that was crossed out.
I'm not having any luck today. Oh, no, it's just leaking. I don't want it to leak on you. My glasses broke. This is leaking. I don't know what this is. It's just even better.
Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second before us. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of moving 4150 with the deletion onto the full board in September, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. That passes 3-0.
Thank you very much.
We will carry on with 4329/7311. This is one of the several policies, and I'm going to ask, before we start even discussing these, because a lot of these have the same discussion point, which is House Bill 805, and Mr. Blanchard is here, and I'm going to ask him to kind of give us his best opinion on, HB 805 actually discusses the word biological sex versus sex, but I would defer to him real quickly, and then we can discuss, because we have several policies that are coming up that discuss that. Mr. Blanchard.
And I'm pulling up House 805 right now, and the changes that, oh, you got it. I've got actually a different one, but Let me borrow yours. The changes it made,
I think everybody should have, you have two.
it instructs us,
Over here. I'm sorry.
It's right, it should be right next to your name plate, or over there, yeah. There you go.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead. Apologize.
among other things, it instructs us to recognize sex as biological sex. I mean, that's the general idea behind it. But the statute, the way we've gotten our bullying policies and things like that, we just use the term sex. So going back to just using the term sex is going to be completely in compliance with House Bill 805. I guess what I'm trying to say is making that change to add biological in front of every time you mention sex doesn't add anything, doesn't help us, doesn't move the ball forward on anything. And arguably there's some detriment because there may end up being some conflict between House Bill 805 and the way the federal government, the courts, would view these policies. The language, this was the language that was in it. Sex was the way it was written before 2021. And, moving it back to that, I don't see any problem with that. It's completely in accord with House Bill 805. And those things, one of the nice things about our bullying and harassing policy is that it makes clear in paragraph 6, I believe, B6, that the examples listed there are not exhaustive, but are intended to illustrate a range of behavior that can cover it. Remember, looking at the back end of this, when does the bullying policy come into effect or come into play for us, for you as board members, is when you're having to deal with a disciplinary appeal. And you guys have just recently been in one, and recall that the question for you there was whether this administration had shown a violation of policy or not. I don't want you to get into a situation where you're hamstrung on an appeal because somebody makes that argument that, well, I can harass somebody or bully them and you can't discipline me because the way the policy's written now. I think that paragraph 6 is designed to do that, but you don't want to qualify the term sex and not have the ability to later discipline people for harassment. We all agree that harassment on any basis, bullying, is something that the school system's not going to tolerate. We owe that to the students, and adding the word biological doesn't support that aim. But that's my take on it.
Thank you, sir. And Dr. Barnes?
In the parenthetical statement,
Ooh, what was that?
I can't say it again. I can't even get subsistence, remember? I did. Just roll around. Page 24. It says here, prohibiting harassment based on federally protected characteristics. What is the federally protected characteristic that's being described? What does the federal government use?
Sex.
So,
Sex is the way the statute reads, just plain old sex,
but
discrimination
I
on the
wonder if we
basis of
put
sex,
that
for
in
example, is
there
Title IX.
based on federally protected because we're referencing that in the legal reference, something to do with a federal guideline. Do you know what I mean? Like, if the federal, I think if we're saying here prohibited by federal protected characteristics, discrimination and harassment protected by federal law, should we not have it be the same thing that's written in the federal law?
Which is sex. That's the term. That's the reason I'm saying we can, using just the term sex without biological before it or any other thing like gender identity and all that is the easiest way for us to be in compliance with both House Bill 805 and federal law because it tracks the language of the statute.
Because it's broader, not more specific.
There you go.
You got it. There's a little bit of leeway in that, depending on how different administrations may choose to define sex going forward. But for right now, at least, just like it had been for the years before 2021, it's perfectly, using the term sex is perfectly compliant.
But this is where we get into this difficulty, because if the federal law is saying one thing and we have a state law saying
Federal's first.
something different,
Federal's first.
But using the term sex would allow us to comply with both. At least looking at the way the policy's written, we couldn't, we would not have one of those situations where, for example, the EEOC or, because, oddly enough, Title IX does actually apply to employment decisions, not just, which nobody ever picks up on that. They go the Title VII route. Reasons for that, but it technically does cover employment discrimination. And using the term sex keeps you in compliance. And I'm not talking about the bullying policy so much here, but just as a policy preference going forward, using the term sex has been good enough for the last 50 years. Nothing's changed that changes that.
Ms. Justice?
Yeah, so all because the majority of these policies, that's what we're here to change or to agree to or whatever. So that would apply to every one of these. Just leave the word sex and don't have to be adding anything extra to make it, I don't know, not in compliance necessarily with the federal law.
Exactly. I mean, that's my view. And it also has the added bonus of being the compromise that makes everyone equally unhappy. So
I'm fine with it at this time.
What are your thoughts, Ms. Mason?
Honestly, I could go either way. I understand, it is a fine line that we have, like, lean toward state, lean toward federal. Changing this, would that impact any kind of, because I know you talked about like lawsuits, but would that impact any kind of funding? Would there be like a rescinding of any funding if we were to change it all to biological and it didn't comply with one, but it complied with the other? I guess would be my question.
based on the enforcement policies we're seeing or preferences now, it wouldn't make any change for the next 3 years. 3 years and a few months at the very least, but or until there's some further guidance from the Supreme Court. But again, the only downside to me is that weird sliver of doubt about what the Fourth Circuit view they will take going forward on what sex means. But if you got it listed as sex, you're covered either way.
How about the schools? How do you think, do you think there would be any impact? Let's look, since we're talking about the bullying policy, which obviously is something that I'm sure, at your school, I know that you don't have to ever worry about that, but other schools have to worry about that. So what do you think, what are your thoughts on the bullying policy? Would it be better to do biological sex, or
I think just plain sex is fine. I don't think we need to go with biological.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Justice?
Listening to Ms. Mason, my understanding is that the federal law always supersedes state law. And there's quite a few laws across the country that don't, that are like this. But that doesn't make them any less, they have to still take into account federal law first. So is that correct? It's always the federal laws is the top primary laws we need to be following, then the state, then we get to our local.
Right. Yeah. And primarily, thinking back, when you look at Title IX, now there is people do have the ability to sue privately for violations. We've seen, those types of complaints. But the thing that everybody's scared of when the administration changes, you're always scared or concerned about what enforcement policy they're going to take. You can see some of the northeastern states right now are dealing with threats to cut off funding because of
athletics, isn't it?
Yeah, sports participation rules. Let's just say it that way. But for us, again, I think that's the advantage of using just the unadorned term sex in it, because it will allow us to accurately say that we're in compliance with whatever enforcement policy we're going to get.
And I think we can always go back, and if it does change, like the Fourth Circuit comes in and says, no, it's biological sex, we can always go back as a committee and revise it if needed. Okay, so I will take,
Something that's not broken.
yeah. I will entertain a motion to make no changes to policy, which would delete the red part. I'll entertain a motion to make no changes to 4329.
I second.
Well, you make the motion, but I'll
Oh,
second.
didn't you just make the motion?
No, I said I'll
So you've
entertain.
entertained one.
Oh, I will make the motion then
Okay.
to strike the word biolog, or just leave the,
Yeah,
no,
just
don't
leave
add
it.
anything.
Yeah, right.
Don't add anything.
I'll second that. All in favor of leaving 4329 as is, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And that will not, I'm looking over at our,
Not
Chair.
going to go to.
We're
It
not going to be
There's
here
no
all
it doesn't need to go
changes, so-
anywhere because it's not changing anything.
Right.
Okay, good enough. All right, now, for the big discussion. Dun, da, da, da.
Page 31.
All right, our next,
Got you covered.
our next policy is 2210. Just to let everyone know, I've kind of written it down so I have my timeline. One of our board members, Mr. Perry, contacted me Saturday morning requesting an audience to speak to this committee. I shared with him that during my 2 years on the policy committee, I do not remember having a cold audience type format at any time, but I would check with the other two policy chairs in the last 2 years, Ms. Mason and Ms. Barnhart. Ms. Barnhart replied that day that only when she was directed by the entire board did she have the student voice group come and speak, and bless you. And Ms. Mason said, again, it was not normal, but that she had Ms. Barnhart speak one time. I responded Saturday evening to Mr. Perry, giving him a compromise, and that compromise was that he could share with me an email which I would share with everyone. He decided, instead of doing that, to share it with everybody, so you should have the email from him that he sent, it was late last night. So, but I'll read that too, as I said I would, to the committee. It's lengthy, so please just bear with me. Dear Policy Committee members, I heard from Mr. Wildebohr yesterday and learned that my request to address the Policy Committee tomorrow in regards to my policy package proposal has been denied. Because I will not be allowed to be available to answer nuanced questions that might naturally arise during discussion of my proposal, I believe this decision is not in the best interest of the school district. Nonetheless, Mr. Wildebohr did state if I sent an email that outlined my thoughts and suggestions on the proposal, that he would share that publicly with the committee tomorrow. So here it goes. The first thing to note is that my policy proposal should be reviewed as a package and not as individual policy amendments. The package was prompted by Mr. Wildebohr's initial proposal to revise 2210. The other policy changes I am recommending stem from my proposed amendments to Mr. Wildebohr's proposal to change policy 2210. Under Mr. Wildebohr's proposal, policy 2210A1C lists the power to make committees assignments as one of the duties of the chairperson. I agree that this is indeed a power and duty of the chairperson, but just this year there have been disagreements between the board members on how quickly initial committee assignments need to be made by the chairperson, and under that circumstances, the chairperson may alter these assignments. Rather than get into a lengthy description of how the committee assignment process should work by listing it policy 2210AC, I think it best describes this process under policy 2230 covering board committees. My only change to Mr. Wildebohr's language for policy 2210A1C is to add pursuant to the procedures outlined in policy 2230. Under Mr. Wildebohr's proposal, the new section added labeled additional responsibility has been added to policy 22A1. This section goes into length on the disciplinary process for board members who violate our ethics policy, policy 2120. While the proposed section does mention some duties of the chairperson in this regard, it goes far beyond that and includes disciplinary processes that properly belong to the whole board. My proposal is to remove this whole section from policy 2210 and describe the disciplinary process under a new section of our ethics policy, policy 2120. My first proposed change to policy 2230, board committees, is more of a housekeeping matter. Since we voted as a board earlier this year to dissolve the Title IX committee, we should remove it under the list of standing committees 2230 A and B. And actually, we also no longer have a turnaround task force, so that's my little addition. If we're going to do that, we need to change that one also. We've also, as Ms. Mason said a minute ago, we also have changed the function and functionality of the Finance Committee to add the capital and the bond on there, so we also should update that too. But back to Mr. Perry's letter. My second proposed change to policy 2230 board committees is to add a new section labeled G, committee assignment process. This main point of this section addresses the timeliness of the committee assignment process. My proposal suggests that the chairperson has 30 days to make committee assignments initially and when vacancies arise. Such a specific timeline is necessary to ensure a well-functioning board and avoid the possibility that chairperson might try to subvert the will of the board by sitting on committee assignments. The second main point addressed the proposed section for the need of committee members once appointed to be secure in knowing that short of exceptional circumstances, their committee assignments will endure for the entire term of the chairperson's term. A member of a committee cannot perform their duties with integrity and conviction required if their continued membership on that committee is subject to the whims of the chairperson. They should not have to fear that if they vote their conscience, but contrary to the opinion of the chairperson, that they could lose their membership on that committee. A new section labeled B, consequences of violating the Code of Ethics. First point I want to make about this proposal is we need to recognize that the chairperson is not our boss, but our leader. As individually elected board members, we take orders only from the electorate, while the chairperson is responsible for keeping order and fostering cooperation and good behavior from board members. Policy 2120A clearly states that the board will adhere to the disciplinary process outlined in Robert's Rules of Order. Robert's Rules of Order clearly states that disciplinary actions are the responsibility of the whole board, not the chairperson. Finally, my proposed new section ensures a fair and impartial hearing is afforded to the board member who is accused of violating the Code of Ethics. Robert's Rules of Order not only demands this, but the Fifth Amendment does as well. Although due process takes time and can be burdensome, I think we owe our student body, the next generation of citizens, not only teach them civics from a book, but also by example. This completes my email. Since I was not invited to address the committee tomorrow, I will not be in attendance. I plan to do my day job. However, if you end up having questions, please feel free to call me. Sincerely, David Perry. Okay. Did what I said I was going to do. All right, so let's go on to policy 2210. Just want to be clear, if you look at the left side, we have, on the thing, we have the duties of the officers, and the part originally prepared there is, again, I made that. I'm not going to take credit for writing it all. I did find it in some other board policies from surrounding counties and also from surrounding states. But that one is the one that has duties of the chairperson, crosses out the first ones, and in red starts with presiding over meetings. The chairperson ensures the board meetings are conducted in fair and orderly manner, allowing all members to express their views. And on down, and I think what Mr. Perry is discussing here is the additional responsibilities. In event that the chairperson believes that any board member has violated the board member Code of Ethics, policy 2120, and or board norms, the chairperson may afford the board member an opportunity to make a public apology at a board meeting in open session. Regardless of whether the board member makes an apology at a board meeting in open session, the board member may be subject to disciplinary action by the board upon the majority vote of the board if the board member violated the code of ethics. Such actions include, but are not limited to, censure, removal from board, committee assignments, and/or loss of privileges. And then the rest of it goes on. Mr. Perry's suggestions are afforded to us under the section where it says David Perry, where he actually takes and he just deletes that whole section. So I guess maybe our smartest thing to do would be to start with that policy, and then we can carry on to other policies. Thoughts, Ms. Mason?
Not so many.
Thank you.
But what I wanted to do is, as the current board chair, you look at things from a different lens. But what I wanted to ask, because we do have some experienced board members who have lots of time served on this board, more than I do. So I wanted to kind of consult Ms. Justice and Mr. Wildebohr about previous practices. So not just what's in policy, because it's not all covered in policy, but previous practices. And my question for the two of you is, these have already been in practice, but we're codifying them. And I just wanted to kind of throw that your way and just kind of see past practice has been what?
Well, I'll speak first. As former board chair, I think that, these have been in place. I think that they're, it's like anything else. They can be, there are times that we need to relook them over and further ensure that we are following them well and we're being fair to everybody. But I think in the light of everything else, I think that these, I think that's why I wrote them the way I wrote them. I think that this actually does talk about, and it's like the other day, and without going into names, etc. But if you think about what happened just last week, the board made the decision to ask you to do something. It wasn't that we, so again, we were, as a board, saying to our chair, we think this is the right thing to do. But again, we didn't tell you to do it, and we didn't, we didn't do it. We said, we asked you to do it. So, so that, Ms. Justice and I can think at least one time of a person that was taken off a committee that was, probably not really fair. That was, I won't mention that person's name, but
That was very.
Yeah. But besides that,
Their job, they were
yeah,
taken off the
yeah.
committee.
But if you think about overall, I think, and I've been through, one, two, myself twice, and then, so 5 different board chairs, or 4 different board chairs. And I think overall, it's worked pretty well. And I think this is just, again, putting into, so it's not like, well, you can't do this, can you do this? It's all right here. But I'll defer to Ms. Justice now.
I think I've been through even more board chairs than you have. Some of them a lot worse than the ones you experienced as far as using your power inappropriately. Is that the way of putting it? A lot of this you can codify to the end of the world, till the cows come home. A lot of it has to do with trust and respect. That's one of the reasons we have elections. Yeah, and if we have a situation with the chair, unfortunately, it's like any other elected official. It could be, 4 years, 1 year, whatever. That's actually the only way you can do a lot as far as the people in authority. But I heard everything that it was his concern. I happen to think that we do have rules to follow. It's not just the elected people who put us in office. And anybody that's in a public position, an elected official, that thinks that they don't, I don't know what planet they're living on, but we answer to each other, we answer to the public, we answer to the policies that we write. So to think that the only standard is your own conscience that could lead to chaos.
Absolutely.
That's the reason we have government. That's the reason we have these policies. And honestly, I've tried to talk to Mr. Perry about this, and I'm not the only one. I hope he listens to this and understands we have rules for a reason. I think that mistakes get made because we're human. A lot of what went on when we first got sworn in and came in was just because we were all new, or part of us were new, and we were learning. That's what I kept saying, give each other grace. We didn't always do a great job, but we're we're figuring it out, and it's getting better. It really is getting better. And that's what's important, is we need to get, to work together. We need to follow policy. As far as his policy suggestions, the only one that I felt was applicable that would be useful would possibly be the 30-day rule, as far as a committee assignments, just so people know. Pardon? Well, he was writing his long thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll wait until we get to that one then, yeah. Yeah. But, that's the only thing. Otherwise, I really don't see any, I like what you've done. You can tell it's less of a list and more of a, it just flows better as far as understanding what your duties are. Is that useful with the way you reworded it? And having been a chair, you understand. So, and yeah, that works that way. I can also say a chair is a very powerful position, and it's really up to the person. That's why we have our elections on the board, to do what's right by the whole district and not just their own particular interests. And what I see is, I happen to think now that what we are doing as a board is working together to try to focus more on what's best for the district. I don't see a lot of personal ambitions flying around, and I have seen it in other, and I've told you, I always thought you did a pretty good job as chair, and I think you're doing a good job as chair. Yeah.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
Pretty good? Wait a minute, Ed, pretty good?
But these are good. This is good codification. Thank you for doing that, and I like what you've got down here. As I said, it flows better than just listing of things. So.
Stacey?
And looking at, the duties of the chair, some of them that stand out are ensuring accountability. How is a board chair going to ensure accountability, other than just saying, hey, stop doing that? If there's no backing from the board, if there's no, I don't know the word that I'm trying to think of. I guess, but if there's no teeth to it, there's no teeth to the position, then none of these things, none of these responsibilities, it's just a figurehead. And so are we asking that of every chair, to hold every board member accountable? Are we asking every chair to maintain decorum? Are we asking every chair to facilitate communication? And if we're asking that, then we have to expect that they can enforce if there's not a change. So
You've got to have some kind of consequence.
correct.
Just reality.
I didn't want to use the word consequence, but yes, you do. I agree.
We work with kids.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
well, as an administrator, you need to keep your teachers, going the right way. You got to lead by example first, but also you need to, be able to,
And just our position as human beings, is we're always on a constant learning curve.
Absolutely.
We can always get better,
Okay.
but we have to start somewhere.
Okay.
But this really helps. That's what policy is about. It gives you a guideline on what to do.
Okay.
The
Well,
other question I had was under the agenda planning. I know at the last meeting, it said that the chairperson has the ability to place items on either a monthly board meeting, agenda review meeting, or assign items to committees as defined in policy. I recall we did not add that part to the other. Should we take that out of this? If we didn't have it to the other policy, just so there's that
where is that?
consistency?
I'm sorry, where's that?
I can't remember which policy it was.
Oh, it's right here, it's D.
Well, yeah, it's
Chairperson has
D, but
ability.
then it was also
Yep.
in last week's meeting when we were talking about the
Right.
changes, and we didn't support that.
That didn't pass, no.
So putting that forward,
Right.
I think would be kind of counterproductive, and it would get sent back to us.
Right.
So if we want to get this passed, I would say we should remove.
Right.
So I would make a motion to remove under A1D.
Right.
Or assign items to committees as defined in policy.
And thanks for catching that. You're right.
Yep, I'll second that.
All right?
You get that? Okay. All right, so first we'll discuss, any further discussion on removing that section to D?
No, that makes sense. I'm glad you caught
Yep.
it.
I'm
Otherwise,
glad you did,
we
too.
haven't had the policy
I know.
meeting with the policy.
Okay, all in favor of removing everything after ability to place items on the monthly board meeting? All in favor of removing all the rest of the words in D, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 3-0. I will make a motion that we push 2210 as revised onto the full board.
Second.
All in favor? Signify.
Aye.
Aye? Okay, I think we discussed it already. Okay. All right. Well, that'll kind of, let's go on to, since we have it on here, let's go on to 2120. Again, we have Mr. Perry's proposal there. I don't know that, without moving the other things, because basically what he's doing is he's adding this in here. And, you know, we could have it here and there. I mean, there's nothing that says we can't have it in two different places. You know, that way there it has, the board has the, what are your thoughts on that? It's
Now, where are you-
basically the same wording under B, consequences of violating the code of ethics. In the event the chairperson or a majority of other members of the board believes that any board member has violated the board member code of ethics 2120 and/or board norms, the chairperson or the majority of the board may afford the board member an opportunity to make a, you know. So, I guess my question is, do we need it in two places? But, you know, we do have on the bottom, the part that Mr. Perry added before, such disciplinary action is taken, the affected board member shall have the right to request an impartial and fair hearing. And I'm going to ask our attorney, do we have that already? I mean, does he have that, does any board member have the right to ask for that?
You've always given people the right to be heard on things.
Mhm.
I guess the concern I would have is that you don't want to turn something like that into a redo of the Microsoft antitrust litigation. You know, you don't want it to be something that takes years and years and years to deal with.
Right. And also have attorney, you know, nothing against attorneys, but having, you know, our attorney and, you know, it could be very costly.
Right, and it's looking forward at what happens there, it is always going to break down and devolve into an argument about what is fair and impartial. If you wanted to change that word to, you know, be provided an opportunity to be heard, you know, that would be slightly different, but that's what we do already anyway.
Right.
And we had some concerns about some issues raised about the Roberts Rules, things about it. There are substantial differences between, and by the way, Roberts Rules are not substantive rules. They're just a way to run a meeting. But there are places where it's clear that Roberts Rules, the procedures that they would suggest, conflict with what you're allowed to do. Roberts Rules, for example, says that you're supposed to talk about those things in an executive session. You're not. We can't do that. Roberts Rules say that members of the executive committee are supposed to discuss them privately with the accused, if you want. We can't do that. Roberts Rules suggest that the member should recuse, or indicate the member should recuse from voting. Well, you've got a common law duty to vote on things. So, I mean, those are just some examples of it. But anytime you're giving someone, telling them, like we've done at these meetings, where the individual members express, these are my concerns, and then the person's given an opportunity to be heard, that's all the process is due under the circumstance, you know, that's appropriate for the circumstance. You're not chopping off their hand or anything. You're just telling them we disapprove of your conduct.
And if I'm not incorrect, I think Robert's Rules also says that, you know, the chair could have someone, you know, a board member removed, and we can't of course do that either.
Right.
So,
in fact, that's the first choice for somebody being rude in a meeting.
Right. So, so I guess, you know, we have two things to think about with this 2230. One, do we want the section in there at all? And two, do we want it worded as you know, now as 2230 does not have it in there. But, I mean, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself.
You're talking about B?
2120. But that's, you know, that section is not in there at all as we speak now. Mr. Perry is just making a recommendation we add that section in B. So we can either add it in or not add it in, and then if we do add it in, We can add it in as written, or we can change, like maybe take that last sentence out. But that's up to everyone. Ms. Mason?
Not that I want to be on social media, but I am on social media. And even before I was on the board, I remember the disciplinary things and the meetings that were extra. The public sees it as a circus. And if we have every single board member who, I think that everybody should have the right to defend themselves. Absolutely. Do we need to have a hearing for every single disciplinary measure? I think that would be excessive. And embarrassing for the district, let's be honest, because it doesn't make us look like we know what we're doing. And not only that, what are we doing here?
Thank you.
What are we doing here? Are we here to police each other? Are we here to make our schools better? Are we here to take care of our kids, to take care of the budget issues that we have? What is our purpose? And is a hearing going to fulfill that purpose?
So would you make a motion or recommendation to do anything with section B? Like maybe delete section, we don't, not delete, just not add, just not add in section B.
I'll make a motion to not add
I'll second that.
section B.
I'll second that.
I
Any
guess
other
we
discussion?
Sort of had a front-end discussion about it, but,
Yep. All right.
I agree. We got to focus on why we're here,
Mhm.
and not the drama that some people might want, and I'm not sure what their reasoning is to it, but it definitely distracts from our main goals and purposes. I think we have an awful lot of rights. Anybody can abuse anything. I'm sure somebody could figure some way around to make things even worse if they really wanted to, but that's not what we're doing. And I don't think we need to add even more bureaucracy. People complain about that too. Isn't it amazing how that works? More bureaucracy and rules when we already have it pretty well covered. If you have a concern, we just went through a couple of those processes. And I hope we don't go through anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
Agreed.
I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
All right, we have a motion and second not to make any changes to policy 2120. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that will not be brought to the board because we're not making any changes. Now we're on 2230, and that was the one, Ms. Justice, you had mentioned about the 30-day process. That's one option, or let me see what we got that in
Mr.
here.
LeVore, can we cover all the ones that do need to change, because there was more than just Title IX that was reduced from our list?
Right.
And because there's going to be a lot of edits when it comes to this as far as what committees we still have.
Okay.
When we consolidated and we removed some committees, we didn't get them off of the policy quite yet. So
Right.
there's, do you want me to go?
Yeah, would you go ahead?
So on
Right.
page 46, I think it's the same as everybody else. So the first page, Finance Committee is now Finance, Bond, and Capital. So we would need to change that.
Okay, so what we're going to go through now, and maybe we can get this done today and get these changes made?
Yes, that's the hope.
So, yeah, number one.
Number one, we changed from Finance to Finance, Bond, and Capital Joint Committee, I believe
Right.
was the term.
We also changed to 3 committee members.
Was it 3?
Yeah,
Oh, I
it's 3.
missed that one.
Mhm.
Did you?
Committee is composed of a minimum of, well, I guess, but now it's 3.
A minimum of 2. So it doesn't say,
Mhm.
yeah. So we can have, I don't know if we need, do you think we need to change that?
Well, not necessarily, because.
Feel like it's-
Oh, didn't the legislative committee get added into that too?
No. No, legislative,
I thought that went in there too. They were
we
reconsolidated.
made some changes of the frequency of meeting, but I don't believe we made any changes to the structure of the committee, from what I recall.
Okay,
So
so-
Finance, Bond, Capital, and then on the second page of that policy, number 4, we eliminated the safety committees.
Right.
Number, let's see, letter B, we have the Title IX. And then
Okay,
moving
which
on.
one? Sorry,
Go
I
ahead,
just
I'm
got
sorry.
lost for a second while I was doing something.
Nope, you're good. If I'm going too fast, please just tell me.
Yeah, so page 2, were board advisory committees.
Yes. It's already deleted off of, the
Right.
Title IX committee is already deleted off of there.
But then we also have down the way, the curriculum committee has changed. I don't think we've,
Yes, so continuing on, if you look at so we have the advisory committees, there's no changes to Advisory Council for Exceptional Students, Calendar Committee. Well, Calendar Committee, there is not either. And then CTE, there's no change to any of those. Turning that page, going to curriculum. Are you still with us, Ms. Justice? Okay.
number 4.
Number 4, we did change the number of board members to 3. I think it was 2 to 3, I think was the exact verbiage that we had voted on.
Okay, here's what I remember. We actually, and it's on video, we actually voted as a group to have 2 members. Originally, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, there was 1 member. 2 years ago, before I was, that gap when I wasn't on the board, you added 2 or 3 more members on the curriculum committee?
I don't think so.
Okay, so
Ms. Bradford?
that's right, it didn't meet. There was 1 member, it didn't meet. Then now we had this discussion this year about adding members, and we took a vote and it was only 2. I don't know why.
But was it 2 additional members? Because that's from what I recall. I think we'd probably have to go back and
Yeah,
listen to the
let's
video
look
just to
let's
get
look at
clarity.
that to make
Do
sure.
we remember when we voted on that? Because I know we did committees over several meetings.
Okay, where
So,
are we now?
'cause it
It
took a
might
minute.
have been in April or March, but we do need, because my now I'm having
Recollection?
problems with words.
Recollection.
My remembering was that we didn't add 2, we just decided on 2. So we need to figure that out before, because we voted on it, and make sure we follow whatever the vote was.
And I'm fine with going back and
Yeah.
checking
Yeah,
that.
let's leave that, and we'll put a question mark in that.
Okay.
Could I ask you, please? So we'll hold, just to move forward, I'm
2
going to
or
make a motion to
3.
hold this in policies until we
Well,
get the
hang on.
answer to that.
There's one more.
There is one more.
All the way down to number 10, the turnaround task force.
Right.
They have since left us.
Yes, they
I guess
have.
they're
They've
doing their
become-
own thing. They're not called turnaround task force anymore. So we need to
that one.
remove them from that. So as far as committees go, those are all the committees that we had changes for. And Ms. Kadetsky, I can share those with you too.
And then we have to discuss Mr. Perry's section G here, which is committee assignment process. Once a chairperson has been elected pursuant to policy 2200, excuse me, they should be responsible for assigning chair and committee chairs to all existing standing committees and existing ad hoc committees, assigning board members to all advisory committees and outside committees. These committee assignments shall be finalized no later than the first regular board meeting following the chairperson's election. Written notice shall be given to all board members and the public time of finalization. The board members who are appointed shall remain chairs, and committee members of the committees they're appointed to for the remainder of the chairperson's term unless the board member resigns from the position or membership on that committee. 2, the committee has been eliminated or its board membership has been reduced by action of the school board or governing authority outside the committee. The board member has been disciplined for violation of the Code of Ethics pursuant to the procedures outlined in 2120. During the chairperson's term, a new standing committee or ad hoc committee is approved by the school board, or if any person, reason a chair or member of vacancy on a committee that needs to be filled, the chairperson shall fill these vacancies by appointing board members to them within 30 days from the beginning of the vacancy. Such appointments shall be for the remainder of the chairperson's term, save for the exceptions outlined above this paragraph. So thoughts on that?
Okay.
That was all Mr. Perry's additions. Yes.
I guess we should go ahead and have a motion so we can discuss it properly instead of discussing it up front. So should we
Okay.
do that?
Sure, go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, I don't want to be the one that moves it though, so I'm sorry. Sorry.
Well, if we have no motion, then we don't need to discuss it.
There you go.
That'll work. Yeah. So it won't be 72 hours, I promise.
Just 36,
36. Yeah, cutting it in half.
cutting in half.
I did like the 30-day thing, though. But we could add that later on to the duties of the chairperson,
So.
which would make it more in one spot and less cumbersome.
Well, I think that there was a start of a motion earlier, so I would make a motion that we hold this in committee for multiple reasons.
Okay.
Okay.
To check on the committee
Right.
assignment things and, not assignment, the committee, the curriculum
Yeah,
committee.
right.
And then
We further discuss
further
this.
discuss the process.
Makes
All right,
sense.
so there's a motion to hold policy, back to the top again.
2230.
Yeah, what you said, 2230, until our September meeting. Is there a second? Second. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of holding 2230 to our September meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 3-0.
Oh, here comes a fun one.
Multiple. All right. Carrying on. All right, this is another big topic. Yeah, I'm looking over you. All right, here we go. And here we go. All right. You missed all those little things here. All right, wireless communication. We have a lot of changes here, so I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Brinson. Let her kind of walk us through it. Ms. Brinson?
So it looks like a lot, but actually it's not really. Policy was really good and close to what the statute said to begin with, but I kind of wanted the terminology to match what was in the state statute. So we basically put on turned on versus activated, and then I used the definition that the statute has versus what our definition was, so we're matching completely. Do want to add in here, we did add to their, and the statute says, including the following: cellular, tablet, laptop, paging devices, radios, and gaming devices. We did add smartwatches, because that's another issue that the board needs to consider.
Smart.
Yep.
I had to go there, sorry.
So we did add that is another device that wasn't in there. And then when the authorized use, again, took it specifically out of what the state statute has as far as when students are allowed to use, and basically authorized by the teacher as required for the IEP or 504, and then a student health concern. So that, again, is very matching what's in there. Under the consequences, this is where the decision you need to make is, the board needs to make. We did have teachers and school administrators may immediately confiscate any wireless communication devices that are on, used, displayed, or visible violations of the policy. So my question is that something you guys want to leave as far as it talks about teachers and school administrators taking it right away? Do you want there to be, in our student handbook, there's like a range of consequences that we could use? So you need to decide whether you want that one to be there specifically stated out, or you want to use what's in the code of conduct book, which just talks about a range of consequences.
And since we have a school administrator, you know I was coming to you. What are your thoughts?
So is the question whether or not a teacher can take it, or an administrator, or?
Both.
Both. Well,
That piece of it, and then whether you want it to specifically say that it can be confiscated, or you'll follow the student code of conduct with the range of consequences.
I think following the student code of conduct needs to stay there, and I also think that the nearest supervising adult should be allowed to intervene. So if that's a teacher, we don't always have an administrator in every situation. So teacher, administrator.
Dr. Barr?
I'd really rather not turn our administrators into sort of the cell phone police either. So I think a responsible adult should be able to confiscate the device, but I think then it needs to go to a central location after that. I don't want them in a teacher's desk, or they all need to funnel to the same place. But I think if you allowed the student conduct, when I was a principal, if I took your phone and I kept taking it, that sort of leveraged into non-compliance versus a phone thing after a while. Because now I'm telling you and now you're ignoring me. So it's sort of, the code of conduct is strict, it has some things in there like that, but this is going to be a learning curve for especially our traditional high schools especially. So we're going to wait to put out messaging until we had a chance to talk with you guys, but I think that it should be any responsible adult And then, but then we need to put in some procedures after that, what happens.
And I'm thinking about the big picture, it has to always be the principal or assistant principal. Then it becomes, okay, well, the child's got it here, and I got to wait 20 minutes for that administrator because maybe they're doing an evaluation or something. So that would be a mess, I think so. Ms. Justice, you had your hand up? I'm sorry.
I remember when smartphones were in 2000. I did the churches and we're talking about. I know exactly. I agree about the adults. We've got to have class. We can't set away from administrators. So if we've got 10,000 jobs, we do at least this now. This is, I guess, part of the conduct, sexual education, not getting in the classroom. Keep it crazy. And then there's also things I noticed on this, I know some teachers use caddies. How does that fit into this kind of, the teachers here in this district use caddies? Caddies are.
There are some teachers that use, a lot of what you see is these shoe holder sort of scenarios.
Basically, yeah.
And so many of our teachers or many of our schools have already created provisions for this. So this may not be necessary. If it has to be off and stowed anyway, then you may not need the shoe caddy anymore, I think, because why would you take it out of your bag and put it in there if it's already off and stowed?
Problem is that it doesn't work.
But I think the devil's in the details a little bit. A lot of this is going to come down to enforcement of said rules. Now, I will tell you that all of our middle schools are already sort of devising something like very similar to this already. I do not see cell phones in middle schools almost any time I go. High school is sometimes a different animal, but once we get established that this is the way it rolls, I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue.
Ms. Mason?
Well, I was going to make a motion so that we could have discussion, but we're having discussion. So I'll make a motion to move this to the board.
I'll second.
And then if I could comment.
Go ahead, comment away.
So I keep hearing that it kind of comes down to the school itself and how the school is implementing it. So I guess my question is, as far as disciplinary, should we add a part that enables the admin of the school to determine the protocol and the procedures? Is there a different procedure depending on the school? Because I know every school I've visited, which I haven't been to all of them, I'm sorry, but every school I've visited has a different environment, it's a different culture, it's a different, and the admin at each one runs things in a very different manner. Do we enable our admin to function and to figure out their own protocol, or do we set the protocol, I guess is my question.
Go ahead, Ms. Justice.
Well, this is part of this is coming out of the law, so we got to follow certain things. I guess that's part of why we're having this discussion for sure. And believe it or not, administrators from school to school, it's pretty similar, the whole experience. Because you got kids wanting to use the phone all day long, any opportunity they get, in the wrong ways and sometimes the right ways. And it's such a huge distraction because of so many issues. So this is a very big deal if we can separate our kids' social use of the phone as opposed to being in class and learning while you're there.
I was going to bring up two real important points because a lot of people talk about what about a child that has a medical need for it that's addressed in here, as well as an emergency situation, as well as, if they have it in their 504 or their IEP. So I think that's important. I do want to take just a second to mention, and this is not something that we're going to do with this policy, but there is a resolution that we may want to look at down the road that one of the board members sent to, I think, all of us from Burke County. It talks about a resolution encouraging balanced instruction through reduced screen time. So basically the same idea. I think that's something we all need to look at for the future. But we do have a motion and a second to move this on to the full board. Is there any further discussion? Yes, sir. You can discuss away.
We're actually meeting with the high school and middle school principals Thursday to talk about sort of the communication of this to families and parents. I would almost wonder if we don't need to take a swing at a pitch that hasn't been thrown yet. We can make the overall policy establish and guide with what the general statute is. And then as we go into the school year, if we find that it's not falling into compliance as well in some areas, we can always tweak it. I like Ms. Mason's statement that maybe we need to let the administrators have as much sort of flexibility of control as they can, because you're right, you know your building best. However, as long as they're complying with the overall general statute, I think, you know, that's, once the rule is the rule, I think we're going to find that that's not going to be as big of an issue as we want. So what we could do is give it a month or two and see what it feels like, and then recon whether or not it needs further tweaking. What do you guys think?
Tweaking.
I just wanted to add in to kind of answer Ms. Mason's question. The range of consequences that principals or other administrators use when determining a disciplinary consequence for an infraction gives them the leeway to determine a developmentally appropriate response, and also the culpability of the student. So was the student intending to be non-compliant? Was there an accident involved? Is there a developmental approach that needs to be taken? And also that range of consequences is a gradual increase in response. So starting with what the administrator feels is appropriate, whether it's a parent conference or whether there's, you know, some other cost response in that is appropriate. I also want to say that the thing that we see very different across schools is when you see administrators have a relationship with kids, and that's going to be the most powerful impact on compliance, especially in this area.
We'll be putting out messaging to parents as well, that the phones are not being taken from the student. They will be there for an emergency, but off and bestowed during instructional time.
And I think your point is very important, because otherwise you end up having, you know, okay, I put the phone on the desk and the phone's not at the desk anymore, then all of a sudden the teacher, you know, well, you're in trouble for it and all that kind of stuff, which obviously they're not in trouble for it, but, you know, better if we had that centralized, but that's more of a protocol thing, so. Yes, ma'am? Ms.
Yeah,
Francis?
and I just wanted to say something from this, believe it or not, student's perspective. I have had a middle school, he's about to go to 9th grade, middle school student, and he was at Holly Tree, and they weren't allowed to use the phone. For a couple of years now, it's been like that. He loved it. They'd talk to each other at lunch.
They actually talk to each other, yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have to fight with teachers about who's hiding the phone and who's doing this, that, and the other. And he actually mentioned to me, I think the last month of school, I think they let him use it for a change, and he was going, this is really strange. And I think it just shows that the kids really, you know, it's a plus that they're aware enough to know that the phone is not their best friend, and they really like the natural environment. I just want to speak to the kids, once they get into it, they like it that way.
Well, I think something you said really makes a lot of sense, and something we're starting to lose. What we're doing right now is talking to each other instead of, you know, I always tell a story about my family. I wanted to watch a baseball game, and of course, I was outvoted by my family. Could not watch a baseball game because we had to watch something else. So they're all watching something else, and every one of them is doing this. And I'm like, no, why can't I watch my baseball anymore? So let's hear for baseball games. We have a motion and a second in front of us to move this on to the whole board as changed here. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Passes 3-0, 43-18, going on to full board as amended. All right, we have several of these next ones, but the board did instruct us to go through them, so we're going to do that. The big change in 1720 is the word biological sex. We've already discussed that, so I would entertain a motion to not change 1720.
I'm so moved that we not change.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay.
All in favor, any discussion?
I think we discussed it earlier.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what we did. So, all in favor of keeping 17, 20, 40, 30, and 72, 35 as is, please signify by saying aye.
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 Very good.
Passes 3-0. All right, so again, that will not go to the board because we're not changing anything. Carrying on 5240, again, because of House Bill 805, do we want to change that, or do we want to keep it as is?
Okay, hold on, it's 5240.
Right, 5240. And again, the change here is biological sex.
Leave it. I'm so moved, all right, I move that we don't change it, you leave it as it is.
Okay. Is there a second? Just to change things up. Okay. All in favor of leaving 5240 as is, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, like sign. That will not go anywhere because this doesn't need to be changed. All right, 6220, operation of school nutrition
Yes.
services, again, because of HB 805, which has biological sex. Do we want to leave that alone, or do we want to change that? Look at me, I'm going light speed.
Where is, oh, no, it's in here.
What page are we on, sir?
Wow.
Come on, you gotta keep up with me now.
I know.
I'm moving. 76, page
Well,
76.
I got the 76, where's the biological sex? What am I missing?
Page 77, halfway down.
Way down.
Oh, well,
See, if you put it in your computer, it comes right up. It's red.
oh, they did it in, okay.
Section
Forgive-
1.
gotcha.
School officials may not discriminate on race, biological sex. Okay, so, Ms. Justice?
I move that we leave it as it is.
All right, I'll second that. All in favor of leaving 6220 as is, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Carries 3-0. And I think last but not least, did I miss one? My goodness gracious. Ms. Justice, you were excited about having sleep over here. I know. All right, gifts and bequests. All right, and again, I believe this is the same thing according to my notes. Policy is included for purposes of discussion per the recent General Assembly House Bill 805, which talks about biological sex. I entertain a motion. Oh, there you go.
Oh, never mind. You know what, never mind. I move that we leave it as it is.
All right, is there a second? All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of leaving 8220 gifts and bequests as is, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
Wow. Ha-ha. We're not here all night, thank God.
All right,
Mr. Wildebohr, I'm sorry,
ma'am.
did you do policy 1310, parental involvement?
I may have skipped one. You did. I did. What in the world? That's it.
You know what page
I'm in
it's on?
trouble.
Yes,
I'm in trouble.
57.
Right in the middle, it's on there. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Brinson, for keeping me straight. It's a hard job. All right. All right, so let me see. I got it on my notes here. I don't know how I skipped it. 1310. All right.
Page 63, please.
Page 63. I
Second
believe-
verse, same as the first.
Yep. I believe we have biological sex in DD, twice. School system does not discriminate on basis of race, color, national origin, biological sex.
Twice in one paragraph.
I'd entertain a motion. There you go.
I move that we leave this policy 1310 for 22002 as is.
Okay, I'll second that. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Passes 3-0. I'm glad somebody was, I was seeing if you were paying attention, so I appreciate that. Thank you. All right, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well, I
Oh,
move
wait a
that,
minute. All right, no, we're not adjourning. All right, motion to adjourn, is there a second?
second.
All right, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? No. I like it so much. I almost did. I knew you were going to.
Somebody was trying to tell us something.
All right, that passes 2-1. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Wow, good.